Who's Afraid of Pablo Picasso?
I'm going to. Okay, back to Romanticism. So this was the period this happened in Europe between 1800 and 1890s. Right?
Which developed, and today the world is looking back on Cubism and borrowing a lot of elements from there.
So now more and more popularized, we'll keep on doing it, placing it in our gallery, and people are coming and watching.
Namaskar. Welcome to this program of Straight Drive Panorama. I'm Sudhanshu Mani. Last time we did a show on art as such. We called it Who's Afraid of Pablo Picasso. And we talked about evolution of art. This time we will again talk about contemporary art and modern art. And as you know, as Picasso himself has said, that art washes away from the soul the dust of everyday life. And in these times, it's also said that art is the best way to run away without leaving home. And we are compelled to stay at home quite a lot nowadays. So now is definitely a good time to talk about it. Well, art intrigues and inflames you, uplifts you, exhilarates you, perhaps even disturbs and astounds you. But whatever it may be, day in, day out, viewing pleasure of good art is so durable. Art is certainly much more than paintings on walls. Art transcends the ambit of what we think we are capable of thinking, but something which affords us not to merely a view through a new lens for you, but multi-angled prismatic vision, and then provokes you to see and let your thoughts fly. Well, simple illustrative art that you are familiar with can be a thing of beauty, but would lack durability and permanence. Something which can hold you and be a source of pleasure forever. Modern and contemporary art can seemingly appear to be arcane and abstruse to those who are uninitiated, challenging you to peel away layers upon layers of enigmas and puzzles, but that's not what art is meant to be. How can this expression of artist's mind put before you with the help of some eclectic crafts be so? Well, the snobs of art world or the critics with their fanciful interpretations aside, all of us, and I say all of us, are quite capable to appreciate good art in our own way. And to help you do that a little better, we have a panel today. But before that, remember, Shakil Badayuni has said that भेज दी तस्वीर अपनी उनको ये लिखकर शकील आपकी मर्जी है चाहे जिस नजर से देखिए. So that's, of course, I would say, one of the essentials of modern and contemporary art. But we have some authorities on the subject. I welcome Ms. Sarla Daruwala, who's the owner of Art World in Chennai, the oldest gallery in Chennai for more than 50 years. It was founded by her father, Mr. Soli Daruwala. She's known as a fine arts aficionado, nurtures genuine love for art and related business. Also kindly accepted to be present is senior artist Mr. Veer Raghavan Hariram, abstract artist and abstractionist who pursues pure non-representational forms in paintings, widely traveled and respected all over the world. His works are a part of collection of NGMA, many museums in India and abroad, luxury hotels. He's also specialized in printmaking in India and abroad. And we also have Ms. Kanchan Chandar, a famous artist from Delhi. Her works are autobiographical with strong portrayal of self, inspired also by classical Indian temple sculptures. Her famous torsos and figures are classical transformed into contemporary forms with her vibrant color palette and layers of paint to create a textured look. She has held several shows in India and abroad. So that's the panel, and we would now begin with you, Sarala. It is indeed the age of most diverse genre, ideas, mediums, metaphors, perceptions. People are interested in art, with many who want to learn to like art, but their busy lives prevent them. So the role of galleries, I would say, is very important to provoke people to roll up to have new art experiences. It's not the business itself, it's about creating a lively space, bringing artists, art lovers, buyers, and collectors together. So you have been in the business, so to say, for decades, and you've seen the evolution with your gallery holding exhibitions and modern ideas to where the art scenario has reached in Chennai. So, what would be your simple advice to young and upcoming artists to sustain themselves in this limited art market without giving up their creativity and originality? Sarala.
So to young artists is, of course, the first is the basic education, to keep educating yourself on art, to keep upgrading yourself, to know your basic drawing, to be education, basically good education and awareness. And of course, the study of your own history, your own historical arts, crafts, everything, to really delve into it. Like Kanchan, you said she uses she's taken it from temple figures and stuff like that. So I would say, yes, we have to go down to our roots and then make something which is uniquely yours. That is certainly one of the things for the artist. And the second thing for these upcoming artists would be pricing. People think they're out of art college, immediately they have to price themselves at a lakh of rupees. I would say no. I would say, please start humbly. People work for a month and get 30,000 rupees for the whole month of slogging 8-10 hours a day.
Yeah.
So that much humility we should have, that we should be able to make a painting, enjoy it so much so that the other person also enjoys it. The onlooker should enjoy it as much as you enjoyed creating it. So I would say good education, a lot of drawing, a lot of building your base, and then showing it to the right galleries, like-minded galleries, exposing yourself as much to join art camps, to join exhibitions of different kinds. I would say that's the way for an artist to actually slowly make a groove. But work constantly, not just Sunday painting, but really, really work hard. And work on ideas also, not just on the technique, but ideas. They should also view a lot of work so that they can get inspired. But I would say, please go into your roots and draw out. The word educare means to draw out, and draw out from yourself the best.
Okay. Yeah. So I had very fulfilling experience with artists in Bangalore and Chennai. But having come to Lucknow, so I would say Lucknow should be somewhere where Chennai was in 60s when your father started the gallery, I would say. So a very nascent market for contemporary art. So very briefly, what would be your simple recipe to promote a climate for contemporary art to prosper with a strong patronage, which would kind of wean away people from, simple illustrative calendar art that they are used to?
Well, I wouldn't demean calendar art, because that also has its big place. It has come from our traditional systems and all that to begin with. But I would say first thing is art education in schools. Take children to places of art, be it traditional, be it contemporary. Open more galleries, open more colleges of art, do small events which promote art, and for public viewing, for people to know. People visit a lot of temples and different places of architecture, but they don't know about art galleries. So create awareness to that way. And education. And the need for a cosmopolitan culture. When in Chennai today, it works because there are people from all over the world who come. So there's the exposure of the general people also to people from all over the world. And I guess in Lucknow, you have the tourist crowd. So that can be probably brought in, and the exposure for the artists will be good there, and people would come in. But I think first thing is the colleges. You have to have more colleges of art. You have to educate children, take them to museums, take them to galleries, have some museums and galleries. But the base is patronage. In the earlier days, it was the kings, the popes, the spiritual leaders who sponsored artists. So without sponsoring, without patronage, there is no art. So the base is patronage. And
Okay, thank you. So I'll come to you, Sarala, with another question in the end about artists, upcoming artists. But let me go to Mr. Hariram. So abstract art, if I may say so, is an art of subjectivity, does not represent an actual visibility, a reality, and interpreted by the viewer through their emotions and aesthetic sensibilities. So at one plane, it looks fairly simple to appreciate, but that is not the case. Even with well-educated people, there is a sense of hesitation, intimidation, or even a dumb disparagement. Now, you have transformed from bountiful landscapes to geometrical patterns, and now to exclusive abstractionist forms, pursuing visual language of non-representational forms. So how would you recommend for the art-loving viewers to take this journey as a viewing public?
Yeah, see, Sudhanshu, I'll tell you one thing at the outset.
Yeah.
When people might get bewildered when they see an abstract work,
Yes.
It might even seem meaningless to them. But the thing is, one thing you must understand is that artists are basically, they are like very mystical people, they're evolved in a kind of mysticism, because everyone cannot be an artist. They go into different professions. People are there who go become doctors or engineers or whatever, builders or bankers. But if you have to be an artist, you has got a special quality in him, which has evolved from the past to the present, and from the present they take it to the future. So this is that thing makes it very complex. The artist himself is a very complex person, and it's very hard to say, because each of them have got their own journey. They take a journey. Now, for instance, I would say recently the Solomon Guggenheim, I think so, has shown a retrospective of V.S. Gaitonde. So when his works were shown, his work was also, sold for several crores. So, but then, it's hard to understand that person. It's hard to understand why he has so much of, high price has been paid for his painting. Now, if you take Mark Rothko, several $1 million. But then, someone may ask, why is that he's paid so much, or Tyre Mehta, or whoever it is. So it's a kind of thing which I would come to the later aspect of how the common public or people who are interested could really get to know about it. But before that, I would like to tell you that, for instance, now Kanchan was, I just came to know about this temple. So this statement might be interesting. I got a book by Michael Super on abstract art. Somewhere when I was 24 years, I got this book. And in this book, I particularly took a statement for the purpose of discussion. And here he says, Michael Super says, even the crudely sculpted columns of Indian temples are informed with the same spirit as the most modern work of art, he says. So that means to say, millions of people are going to the temples. They are not just coming out without knowing what it is, So they are looking into the symbolism, the metaphors and abstractions. It's there, it's already there, it's rooted in that culture. So that's one example. Now, you take a person like Paul Klee. When you take Paul Klee, he says, I am just taking one of his sayings from the diary. in 1915, he says, "The heart that beat for this world has almost been extinguished in me. It is as though my only bond with these things were memory. One relinquishes this world and builds into a region beyond, a region of all affirmation. Cool romanticism of this style without pathos is astounding." Now, if you take this statement, I think Paul Klee would not have thought about it when he was 5-year-old. So he has evolved from that and come to a state where he is passing a statement to show that there is something beyond your practice of the art, which is very personal. As a soul, he experiences that. So we can't just rule it out and say it's rubbish. I mean, you get bewildered. If it's meaningless, then that is not art, people say. So there is a method of doing this. Now, again, I would like to again refer to one more thing, is that Herbert Reed. Herbert Reed says, eventually art is about renunciation of the grosser sensations, he says. That means you see a white wall also as a painting, you know. You're saying, so people cannot approach art with the intellect mind or an intellectual thing, you know. It cannot be dissected. So you have to approach art with a certain kind of, you have to demand your senses. You have to appeal to your senses to understand what it is. So my feeling is that, you know, like whether it is Lucknow or it is Chennai or Kolkata or Delhi, wherever it is, see, there are humpty number of artists there. And when I say artists, I'm sorry, I'm telling you about the serious artists who are seriously into it, and they are professionals and they're practicing art very seriously. So, you know, what happens is you have to have a forum, like Art World. There's a place. She is doing her best, you know, like bringing out everything. So there's a platform there. One could approach her and then have a periodical, you know, I'm not saying just an art appreciation course or anything like that, but where you have these artists brought there on the platform and then you have an interactive session with them. So what happens, there are several artists. You can bring these artists, they can speak in local languages. An artist could speak in Tamil. Never mind, he could see, people could interpret that and people can understand. Supposing I speak in Tamil, I try to speak in Tamil, they would understand what I want to say. I could expand and explain that. So this kind of forum, and regularly you should have it, weekly once or something like that. And those who are interested, they could come there, have a cup of coffee, some biscuits, and, you know, they could learn so many things directly from the artist. Now, there is another way of doing it, is you directly go to the artist's house. See, if you go to the artist's house, now I go to some artist and then say, ask her what she's doing, and then she would explain. Probably, I mean, I'm not talking commercially. Probably you could even buy a work if it is possible, a drawing or something, you interact with that person. So you get to know what is really the artist has got in mind. It comes straight from the artist rather than somebody interpreting. And I'm not dishonoring the art critics or historians and all that. They are doing absolutely a fine job. But then when the artist speaks, you know, he's coming out of the mind, and then he talks about what in his inner dimension is, what he is as a human being. So now the third aspect is the people who want to know art have to go to galleries, go and see, expose themselves, see paintings, and then study, interact. And then, you know, if you go on looking, because from the laity, you get to know, you from a laity, you become a person who trains your eye, you know. You have to train your eye to see more and more of paintings. This is another method I would suggest, because that is very important. Like we artists, why do we go to other show? Is because we learn more. It's a learning process, you know, in the process of evolution, everything is a learning process. So you have to appreciate, like how you appreciate music or theater. So painting doesn't speak. So you have to appeal to your senses. Music, you know, you enjoy music, you know what is good music, what is bad, what is jarring to your eyes. So this is what one has to learn. I think so. I mean, I personally feel that, you know. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. So when you just said that a picture doesn't speak, I was reminded of this couplet.
Yeah.
Ye muajiza bhi dekha humne kamal fan ka. Muajiza is like miracle. So this miracle I see in this form of art. ये मुआजिजा भी देखा हमने कमाल फन का, चुप हो अगर मुसव्विर तस्वीर बोलती है. That means if the artist is quiet, the picture speaks for him. So I'll come to
Right.
you, Kanchan. So yours is a signature style. Your oeuvre and narratives come out beautifully through your works, I would say, with reference to your capturing of expressions and feelings, perhaps angst, specifically the assertion of female feminine energy, celebration of the fertile, the erotic, the sensuousness, the idea of the divine feminine. So I will now read because I have seen you say somewhere that art occurs in a social situation. The maker and the art both are bound by social forces that shape them. An aesthetic response can hardly be divorced from a social response. So please dilate on this through your own experience and how the lot of viewing art lovers can mature to look at art and its pleasures and intrigue. Kanchan.
Yeah, first of all, I would say, Sudhanshu, I think it's a very good effort that you're making because in during this pandemic, I think one good thing which has happened, good and also not good, is that there are so many webinars taking place. And since people cannot go to museums, the janta cannot go, so art is being brought to their houses. They can learn a lot from what is being given to them. So I think it's a good effort. But whatever I wanted to speak, a lot has been already spoken by Sarlaji. And also what Mr. Hariram said, I think I do agree that, and he said it very beautifully, that artist is mystical and a very complex person. I do agree. So I would just say that art is a reflection of society, and I've always said that. Even when I was teaching, I've been teaching for so long. I agree with Sarlaji when she says that our main cause of people not coming to museums and coming to art galleries is the root cause is from the school level. In the schools, they don't encourage art. Art is taken as a free period where you can just have masti, you can have fun, but it's not taken seriously. I think, for example, from my own city, Delhi, there are just a handful of schools who really sort of cater to good art studies. So we need the schools to bring them to museums, to galleries, to do art projects, to do a lot of research on artists, because this is needed. Suddenly, very often, when I left my college, I was helping students make their portfolios. It was so difficult because they would come to me with no knowledge of art. I mean, they are already 16, 17, and they have no knowledge of art. So it was very difficult for me to sort of tell them how to go about it. So I think the basic thing is that if not only teachers, even the parents, if they start encouraging their own children and themselves to go to finer and start having finer tastes, like, for example, going to good plays, seeing good art films, seeing good art shows, I think that all is very important. That all builds up. It will build up to creating a nice aesthetical value that you will enhance and which will later on help. So very often what you said about calendar art, yes, I also sometimes say, like, it's like that, the art which you see in the shops, very often you go to the market and you'll see this cheap art being hung. Every house in India has an artwork. They have something hung up there in the ceiling. But whether it's good art or not good art, that's the main question. How do we distinguish? How do we tell the janta what is good art? For example, even if they put up a craft or even if they put up a folk art, it has to be a good piece of art. So it's very difficult to explain to them. So I think if we have more sort of workshops, if we have more seminars like this, where you encourage the janta, encourage the normal people, common man, to come up and get involved in this, I think that is going to really help us. And also, talking about my own art, yes, I get inspired by the Indian temples and the sculptures, but I get inspired, I don't copy it. For example, very often today only I was asked by a gallery that why do you work on torsos? I said the torsos have actually come from the Tribhanga pose which you see in the Indian sculptures. It is inspired, it is not taken from there. So, I think it's because of my traveling a lot, traveling in India and abroad, which has actually made me do this different genres of works. Like I do paintings, oil painting, acrylic, mixed media, video art, and I think like I'm 60 plus, so I'm actually going along with time. I mean, who could imagine that a person like me would go into video art? So I'm also doing a little bit of video art. So I think, Sudhanshu, if you ask me a question, I'm better off with that than just going on talking.
No, it's okay. Yeah. So no, I'll ask. I have only one more very simple questions for all of you. So I'll start with Sarala. Very simple. So Sarala, I visited a couple of artists in Lucknow, and I'm happy Mr. Haribaram said that you go to the artists, and that's what I did, partly to educate myself. And these were young artists, and I found they were, especially in this lockdown period, totally involved in their work, working hours and hours every day, and happy. And I asked questions about their art, and then I didn't ask them the obvious question, which I'm asking you now, is emerging artists who have made art their livelihood. Do you think enough is being done by galleries which make money to promote these people?
Actually, even galleries struggle. It's not just that the galleries
Yeah.
make money. You'll be amazed that we're 55 years old now and we still struggle. We still don't have funds to support everybody we want to support. The way we want to support them. It's only, the niche galleries who would say be selling the Razas, Hussains, and those are the guys who make the big money. Or if you're sitting in a place like Delhi and Bombay, which are the financial capitals of the country. But if you see even the artists here who have worked for 60 years, they still struggle, to a certain extent. They're well established, they're well-known names, but they still have the struggle periods. So art itself is not an easy thing.
Yeah.
And aesthetics is what will create awareness. Indians have it in their blood, but we have lost it over time with invasion, with the British rule and all. They have tried to ruin our arts. So we really need, because everything like lighting a diya in a temple or putting a flower or a rangoli, it was all aesthetics. And India was very aesthetic, but we are losing that culture. And if we bring that back slowly, even other people will want to buy art, even the common man, the nouveau riche, the bourgeois will then want to, support. So it is a struggle even for the senior more artists. Maybe you can ask Hariram. I don't know about Kanchan, but I'm sure for everybody it's a struggle still.
Yeah. So, but that brings me to my next question. Very briefly, Mr. Hariram. So, if you were to do just one thing to improve the contemporary art scene in India, what would that be?
No, what makes you feel that it's already improved?
Okay.
It's already there.
Okay.
It's already there. There are, we are facing different times, the change of times and all that. See, now you can see that a lot of artists, Indian artists, are able to do very thoughtful, installations and all that, for instance. So there are younger artists who are coming up with excellent work. So it's already there. Only thing is we need to interact and then quite often meet. And nowadays the galleries are not able to function completely because of the pandemic or whatever. So I think in time it will happen. I think so. I think in the future it should happen. Changes should happen.
Right, sir. Thank you. So last question for you, Kanchan. So very simple. In respect to Delhi, that is North India. So you would be absolutely aware of what's going on. What is it that you would like to happen in the contemporary art scene?
I would, like Mr. Hariram said, a lot of good things are happening, but I would have lots of suggestions. You know, first is I go a lot for judging, and I see young talents, the beautiful works being done, beautiful works, and my heart comes out when I see that. There are no promoters. You see, I don't know about galleries in like, for example, galleries in Delhi, Bombay are just promoting a handful of artists. You know, they just have those 20, 25, 30 names in the seniors and the middle age. But what about those youngsters? And they are willing to sell at a very reasonable price, and amazing works, you know, the outstanding works which are there. Galleries are not willing to take up. The galleries are also following a trend. I'm not particularly saying about a gallery, I'm talking in general, that they are just following a trend. You know, for example, they are the ones who have to convince the buyers that, you know, art is just not those 25, 30 artists. It's beyond. There is much more beyond, and something which is also within your pockets. So, you know, the buyers need to be properly guided. I sometimes feel they are like, you know, like A, B, C gallery will just take them away and, you know, tell them buy this art. This is the best. Okay, that is the best. What about the others? If those 6 are best, what about the other 90 works? You know, I think that is there. And then also, since I was into teaching, I would say that when I go to colleges, art colleges, the scenes are very pathetic there. You know, in terms, I mean that the art teachers themselves are not aware of, forget the Indian scene. I mean, forget the global scene. They're not even aware of what is happening in the Indian market or Indian scenario. So I think orientation is also needed for the art teachers. If they are not able to guide the youngsters, so aage kaise badhenge? How can we go ahead? So there are lots of things which have to be done, you know, and I would say, Sudhanshu, please arrange those also. You're
Yeah.
good at it.
Okay, thanks a lot. Thanks, Sarla. Thanks, Kanchan. Thanks, Mr. Hariram, for joining our program today and making us a little wiser. And I hope my viewers, some of them, art lovers, when they are next going to a gallery to view art or purchase art, they would use these insights. And before we end the program, just my thoughts. रंग दरकार थे हमको तेरी खामोशी के, एक आवाज की तस्वीर बनानी थी हमें. So that's the magic of art, when it can paint the sounds around you. And with these thoughts, I take your permission, viewers. I'll be back next Thursday with some burning issue on Straight Drive. Namaskar.